Hey everyone, happy Thursday from rainy Manhattan, Kansas. A lot of difference from yesterday to today, but it is January and this rain is supposed to turn to snow here in the next day or so. All right, if you saw my little post, this is our second one of the year, that being our first. These came from the same place. Thank you, Silas. This makes probably 60, I guess, over the last few years that I've got from him. We have a pretty good relationship, so I appreciate that. But this is a 1978 half-ton four-wheel drive variety. Custom Deluxe 10. It's hit everything but the lottery, literally. So Silas told me this was one of the school down there, one of the school's trucks they must have used to run around in. And they about, I don't even know what, about 20 years ago, because I think the tag is 06. But that tailgate isn't too bad. If anybody needs a good white tailgate. Yeah, I think that's what that says. 01. Maybe it says 01. So over 20 years ago, but you know, these things weren't worth what they are. And not that this one's worth much, but it has a lot of good parts on it. And they scrapped it because it started to rust. So imagine that. So that's number one. Number one is they scrapped it because it started to rust. But number two, how many school districts do you know these days that are driving manual transmissions? Probably zero. So this has a 4-speed 205. So it's the 10 spline 205 since it's a 4-speed SM465. You can see the car got set on it. I think this was setting on a car and a car got set on it. So you can see right here the VIN, Chevrolet 4-wheel drive K10, which designates a 250 inline 6-cylinder. So if this would be a 292, that should be a T. And then 1 being half-ton, and then 78, and this is made in Flint. And you remember me talking yesterday about spring packs. See, that's not very many there. 12-bolt rear end. I don't know the gear ratio. Being a 6-cylinder 4-speed, my guess would be pretty low. But you know, I don't know. I'd have to. There's no tag on the front. Differential, and let's see what that is. So that is a corporate 10-bolt. That is not a Dana. So around these years, they started switching them over to the Dana, or excuse me, the corporate 10-bolt. You can see that there. That is not a Dana 44. That is a corporate 10-bolt. And how you can tell is get my hand out of the way. That's pretty round. Corporate, or excuse me, a Dana 44 would have a flat spot right here. So no harm, no foul. As I like to say, still a 4-wheel drive. It's just been hit on every angle, but the tailgate's still nice. Front bumper's decent. If anybody needs a white front bumper. Grill's in decent shape, as are the bezels. The tow hooks, it's got tow hooks on it, which those are already spoken for because we're going to use them on one we are going to be doing. Decent set of 4-wheel drive half-ton hubcaps, which are the 10-inch, not the 12-inch like 3/4 ton stake. Let's see here. Oh, get up in here. Pretty sanitary under here as far as everything's still there. Not sanitary as far as dirty, but radiator support. Pretty sure it's pretty rusted on that side. Hood's bent, of course. But this 6-cylinder, 4-speed, 4-wheel drive has power steering and power brakes. Which, power brakes, you know, that was option whether it had them or not. You know, it's going to stop. But power steering, you're definitely going to want that with 4-wheel drive. And a 4-speed. But it's got all the brackets on it still. Still has this little fan shroud here. The little hose is missing, but everything else is there for the 6-cylinder. It does turn. I haven't tried to start it, but it does turn by the fan. Battery box is all rusted out, but when the weather gets a little bit nicer, I think it's supposed to be decent on Sunday, I'm gonna try to see if this one and that one will start. But there's your wiper motor still on it. So remember me talking yesterday, it does have heavy duty brakes on it. That booster would be skinnier if it didn't. No AC. I think these were all of 110 horsepower or something like that. So you start putting AC on them and power steering, it really draws the power down. But let's see what underneath looks like. Yeah, underneath's not too bad. You can see that there, it's just the top side. There's your 205 transfer case. It just looks heavy. So this one will be parted out. Looks like they had a little blue. It might have had a blue top from the factory. So I've seen a lot of these where they're customs or custom deluxes. This is just another little square body tidbit that they'll hardline here from the factory, but they'll never put, you know, like the trim. Well, this one's missing, but the trim on it. So they will hardline from the factory a different color there. So sometimes if they're fleet, whatever, stuff like that, which this one's showing remnants of being blue. You can see right there, and I think, yeah, right here. So this very well could have had a blue top with a white bottom. There's no SPID label in it, so it's gone. If I really wanted to pay 50 bucks, I could probably get on GM Heritage and get the factory invoice. Although I have found that a lot of Flint vehicles, Flint trucks, they don't have records for. So, guy messaged me back on GM Heritage and told me that. So it does have some blue here. But, and I suppose that could be a factory blue stripe, but it almost looks like somebody just taped it off. You can see right there and right there, but it could be, I suppose. You can see where a Dayton tire was leaning up against that door forever. Destroyed that door. Yeah, look at those rockers. Cab corners are a little munched, but it's got a headache rack on it. Here's inside the bed. So I'll show you the inside one more time. The seat's been replaced because obviously that would be a brown seat and this one doesn't fold. So that looks to be actually off like a 73-4 seat just because of the pattern. But it does have a nice instrument panel non-AC bezel, although it had a hole drilled in it. But there's holes drilled in the bumper, so that can only mean that it probably had fog lights, something like that. Driving lights. It's got an aftermarket. It probably came with an AM or didn't come with a radio at all, but I don't see a place for a block off plate. So, but anyway, this one will be parted out. We're just going to use, there's only one thing that we want off of it, which is the tow hooks, maybe the grill. Might stick the grill. I had a guy that needed the supports for the 77 to 80, and I just sold some, and so I had to scavenge them off of my dad's truck, knowing I would have other trucks that have them, you know, that one, this one. So I might just go ahead and stick that. His grill's all broke, but the chrome is good, and just swap that grill, because 78, 79 they started this dark argent color. So that's what that should have in it, is this dark, that color right there. So, alrighty. Well, I appreciate everybody following along. I think that's about all I wanted to talk about on this one. You can hit me up on all the socials. I'll put all our info in there. Message me if you see anything you need. This truck does not have a title. I don't even bother to get them when the cabs are smashed in, stuff like that, because it would be a great truck to rebody, especially if that engine runs. You know, it wouldn't take much to put a 350 in there or drive the 6-cylinder and make a good wood truck out of it. So the doors on that are sold. So, I mean, if a person was, and the floors are junk, the floors are okay on this. So I guess if somebody wanted to cut the roof off and make 2 to 1, they could do that too. So, but anyway, thanks everybody for following along. We do have more trucks coming in. I need to make some room, but when it's kind of cold and crappy like this outside, I can't really work outside, but I do have also a lot of stuff to do inside on some guys' trucks. Excited for those to come along. K5 Blazer, if anybody wants a really good K5 Blazer that the body's not completely roached, the frame's still good, it does already have a lift on it, no drivetrain, like a mud truck, I'd do $850 on it. No title, $850 bill of sale. I could probably, well, I don't think I have all that front end stuff, but I might have some headlights and stuff. Just seats are still in it, back seats in it. But anyway, there you go. Always like to stock up first of the year, especially since we have a swap meet coming in March down in Wichita. My cousin Jeff and I do that one. That's exciting. But, oh yeah, one other thing. I was walking back to my truck, and Silas had this laying on the ground. It was all covered in mud, but my dad used to own a Big A auto parts store in Abilene, Kansas, and I worked there as a kid and all through high school until he sold it. So, kind of cool. This truck used to have a Big A auto parts tag on the front of it, but it was laying in the dirt. He uses them to cover the engines when he pulls them, and I said, man, I'd like to have that, so I bought it from him. So I'll hang that up in the shop somewhere, maybe go through and tape off and paint but Big A auto parts, that's pretty cool. So alrighty, well, enough talking, start working. Thanks everybody for following along. Please like, share, tag, message us if you need anything, and we'll see you on the next one.